Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another stream, and welcome to chapter 2, working on our Tamiya. This is a Tamiya. This is the GF-01 monster truck. Not monster truck, well it is I guess a monster truck. It's a dump truck. This guy here, we're working on this guy here. So let's just get started. As you can see, I've got a bunch of stuff on my desk. Last time, we finished up assembling the two main gears, okay? The front and rear differentials. Okay, these are all assembled. They're ready to go. And of course, like last time, I mentioned that I had to do some custom stuff on this because we're doing custom on this guy, right? I want to be able to fit my battery tray, fit it in the battery tray properly. So I went and I ground out this little section here so my battery can fit down flush. I'll show you guys here. Get this stuff out of here. Okay, here's the original chassis, okay? And you have this little wall right here, okay, and your battery is supposed to fit in this nice little tray, and it fits perfectly if you're using what they call a 6-cell battery. Well, this is basically the equivalent of a 7-cell battery, and it's too long to fit in there. It doesn't sit down in this nice little hole properly, right? Hey, tomatoes. Yeah, it doesn't fit in its battery tray properly, right? So that little wall had to go away. And so that's what I did on this one, okay? So I took my Dremel and I cleared away this little wall, and that is gone. So after dremeling it down and using a file to get it nice and smooth and level, fortunately didn't go into one of the little screws there. I'm good, man. How are you? So now this battery will fit down nice there, and the battery cover will fit in there perfectly, right? So that's that. And I had to get this done first before I can actually continue on and get this thing assembled. So the only problem I might have is that the battery can slide back and forth, right? So maybe I have to put some kind of a strap around, maybe through this hole here and here, and maybe go around the battery like that with it just to keep it in one spot. That's something I'll figure out way later on down the road when we're getting more towards the finish line of this thing. Okay, so let's continue on with the actual build and assembly. Okay, so I'll change the camera and you can see what I'm doing. So let's do this here. Okay, so we're going to go with the same side here. Obviously we've finished building our gears. That's these guys here. Right, that's done. So we're going to continue on. Now they want us to put a bunch of grease, and we've got to put bearings in. So remember the bearings. So grab my little bag of bearings here. I used to build quadcopters. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've never built a helicopter myself or anything like that. It's always been RC cars. Okay, so 2 bearings going in here. There we go. And that one. Now, of course, if you haven't gone and bought the bearings, the fast steady bearings like I did, you're going to have this set here. You're going to have to use one of these in there, one of the plastic bearings, and you're going to want to put grease on it. You're going to put lots of grease on that. With the real bearings you don't have to, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, but you do want to grease up your gears. Okay, you want to have lots of grease on these guys. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease now. Does it matter which way it goes? They show it with the screw side up, so I might as well just follow that. I do want to put a little bit of grease on here, where it's actually going to mate against the bearing. And then we want plenty of grease on our gears. This is where you're going to use up a lot of your grease, is on these big gear sections. And that's why I'm happy that I have some grease left over from when I built that the Tamiya Kong head. Of course, you're going to get grease on your fingers too. So this is the grease that came with the kit, right? So let's open this up. A whole bunch comes out right away. That's funny. So let's just do this. Like butter. You don't need to go crazy. You just need to put enough on there that it's going to cover everything, right? And that ought to do it. Okay, set that guy down in there, and we'll do that with this one too. Now, if you're the kind of person who builds lots of RC cars, you might have your own kind of grease and stuff like that you use. Okay, so that's it. That's it for this page. So flip her over, and we're going to be greasing up our, again, if you're going to be using your bushings and not the bearings, right, the plastic bushings that come with the kit, then you're going to want to grease them up before you put them in the gears. You saw last time I just put the bearings in them already, so they're already in there. So this part I don't need to do. We're now going to go into this, where we need to grab our shafts, okay? So just be careful. You don't want to grab your shaft online, and anybody can see you. That's a private thing. But you want to use these, okay? So what you do in your own time, that's up to you. No judging. If you want to grab your shafts, that's okay. Alright, so we've got actually tubes and shafts. Okay, these ones aren't hollow. The four longer ones, the four longer ones are not tubes. They're solid. Okay. So Tamiya calls these MA4s and MA5s, and they show you exactly which ones are supposed to go where. So MA4 is going to go here and here. This guy is going to go on there, but we're going to grease up our gears. Okay. Like I said, this is where we're going to be using a lot of the grease. Don't be afraid to use it. You don't ever want your gears to be dry of grease or getting hot, because that just wears them out. Then they do show it on here, grease on the actual shaft. How you want to do this is up to you. It's a tight fit into that bearing. There we go. Okay. Make sure we're all the way down. It spins nice. There we go. I don't think I really need to put grease on the shaft because it's in the bearing. We're in a bearing, right? And that spins nice, right? So I don't think I really need to worry about that. reached an air pocket in my tube of grease here. As I'm squeezing, nothing's coming out. No, you cheaped out on me. If you do make the mistake of putting a whole bunch on there and then you find you're running out as you get to your last gear, that's not the end of the world. You can always just transfer some grease from one part to another. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take MA4, same one, and it's going to go here. And the last one on this edge, that spot there. Then our two MA5 tubes go here and here, just like that. Okay. So we take our bigger gears. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because how do you grab this thing after putting grease on it without getting grease all over your fingers? I have seen some guys on YouTube, especially like guys who run a hobby shop. They've got ample amounts of grease in like buckets and stuff like that. There we go. So we spin them, and look how nice that is. And they're happy to be together, just like a family. Look at this. We'll work our way along. This also faces the same way, going this way with the bigger part facing up. There we go. Again with this guy. Facing down, just like in the instructions. There we go. And our final gear. This one is the one that mates against the main diff, and so I want to have lots of grease on this shaft, this one here, because it really goes well, because it's big. It's got a big section. Oh, this is not wanting to go in. Get in there. There we go. Okay. And again, we're all nice and happy. And you might be wondering, well, I thought this thing was four-wheel drive, and yet these gears don't mesh. Because you got your motor that goes right in here, it's going to drive both at the same time. I want to take this guy out. I feel like I didn't put enough grease on this part. And so I just want to add some to it. I would rather have more grease than I need than less. You know what I mean? There we go. Okay, so we're all greased up. We got our gears in. Now we're going to grab the other half, and we've got to put bearings in here and here, according to the instructions, right there and there. Okay, so we're going to grab two more bearings. There we go. And these are going to go in here. nice and tight, and here, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to put a little grease on here, just like I did on the other side, just so that don't have to worry about it. Okay, now they are mentioning something I missed before. We've got this part here. They want us to put MA7 with a screw and a washer right there. I'm guessing this is for, I'm guessing that is for the body kit for the dump truck. But I'm actually going to skip this part. I'm going to highlight it in the manual form so that I can go back to it. So let me grab a highlighter here. I'm going to highlight this part here. Okay. I'm going to highlight it. And do that so that I can go back to it if I need to. And it makes me wonder, did it tell me to do that to the other side? There's no mention of anything on the other side. Just this one. Yeah, why only just that one? Oh, that might be for the antenna. That might be for the antenna to stick up. But with modern day speed controllers and receivers, I really don't need to run a wire like that. So I'm going to leave that out. But just in case, I got that highlighted if later on I need to actually do something about it. Okay, so now we're going to put our two halves together. And we're going to use lots of the MA2 screws. Like I mentioned last time, we're going to be using lots of those things, right? And that's, let's get my tweezers here. That's these guys here, these screws. We're going to use lots of these throughout the whole kit. Okay, I'll get rid of my highlighter. Okay, so let's put the grease aside and we'll put our two halves together. So take that like that, and we'll make a nice little sandwich. Everything should pretty much line up. You might have to do a little wiggling, but there you go. Okay, ready for some screws. So put it down like that, and grab the old screwdriver, and we'll start doing it. Okay, one in here, and one it upside down. This is where tweezers are handy to get in there. There we go. I'll get the threads started on them a little bit, but not too much, just so that they won't fall out on me. And another one goes here. There we go. Okay. Let's just do this. Bing, I need one here, right? You can kind of go by the instructions and see exactly which holes are supposed to have screws. Because you might be trying to put a screw in here or something like that, and you're not supposed to. At least not yet, anyway. Right? There is one that goes in the bottom here. That. Okay. So I'm going to need one here, 2, looks like 4 more. 2, 3, 4. My screwdriver is a little bit magnetized, so that helps out quite a bit. Doink. See, pick them up for me. One goes here. Whoops. No, it doesn't. Wrong screw. See? Does not go there. Goes here. And this guy up here. And one last one right up here. Okay, so this is where I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to start screwing all these in and get them tight. I do find, even though it's a Phillips number 2 screw, my screwdriver wants to try and strip them. It's like it doesn't quite bite into them. Maybe it is a Phillips 1. I'm going to try. I'm going to do an experiment right now. Maybe it is a Phillips number 1 and not a number 2. Another screwdriver with a bunch of bits in the head here. And I'm just going to try. A number 1. Is that a number 1? Yeah, this is a Phillips number 1. So let's see. Does it screw this one in easier? No, it's not any easier. It still wants to, well, it does bite pretty good. But I just find, yeah, these aren't number 1s. It's like the screw head is not deep enough for the bit. They're definitely not number 3s. I don't think I'd get a number 3 in there at all. This number 3 is a pretty fat head, and yeah, you can't even, a number 3 doesn't even go in there. So yeah, anyway, I do have another, see, this one's not going to work on some places where the screw is pretty deep, because this shaft is pretty fat. My shaft is too fat. Yeah, can't say I've ever had that problem before. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. I don't have a Phillips number 1 up here with me, so that's tight now. Let's go down to this bottom one. That's tight. Next, down the line, I'll do the very first one. There we go. Basically, you don't want to go crazy. Like, yeah, some guys might use electric screwdrivers and stuff like that, and you can use them. You just want to be really careful and have your setting down low, because you don't want to over tighten them. There's no need to really have these things cranked down super tight. Which is why I kind of prefer to do it by hand. Yeah, it's a little bit of elbow grease and it takes a little bit longer as you do it by hand, but it's not that bad. There we go. Okay, so we've got it all done. Now you can sort of see the gears inside there if I get the light right. You can see the 2 gears that are going to mesh against the motor. You can do a little test if you want, and kind of turn the gears to make sure they actually spin, right? That's a good little test. The other test, of course, is to check your actual differentials on each side to make sure they turn. So you got no binding. What you can do is you find your, I believe it's your C bag. It might be the B bag. It's your B bag. Parts bag B will have your axle shafts in there that have the splines on them. So you can grab 2 of those and you can check. Stick that in there, get that spline lined up. Come on. That should go in. Why aren't you going in? That's an interesting little problem. So this side would go through. This doesn't want to line up. Why not? There we go. Just like that. Okay. And you can turn that and you should be able to see the gear moving there. And sure enough, so I get that right angle for you. As I turn it, you can see the gear move. Just like that. Okay. I don't feel any binding. It feels nice and smooth. So that's good. Now my question is, why is this not wanting to go in this side? Why is the spline not working? I might wind up having to take this all apart. Because, there we go. It's just tight. You can hear that. You can hear as all the gears are turning in there. And then this, in theory, goes this side, like that. And my diff is really tight. The diff is extremely tight on this side. Let's check this side. Yeah, the diff is loose on this one. So why have I got one loose diff and one tight one? It doesn't really matter to me so much. Usually these loosen up over time anyway. But the fact that that's an almost solid diff is a little... I don't feel it binding, it's just tight. And tight is okay, but it's like, you know, I didn't make it tight on purpose. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned about it. It's because I didn't do it on purpose. This is my B bag. So, like I said before, I like to keep my parts separate, but in their own little containers like that. Okay. Now, what Tamiya would want you to do is put your pinion gear and the gasket on your motor and get that all ready to go, okay, and installed. Why do they want you to do it now? Well, because once you've got all your suspension and everything on here, it becomes a little bit of a pain to put the motor in. Right? So, I'm not actually going to put the motor in, but I'm going to show you the steps that you got to take. So I have my pinion gears, my special ones. Remember that last time? I got my special ones. The kit's going to come with an 18-tooth gear, right? Tamiya gives you options depending on which pinion gear you use. It's going to depend on which holes you use to actually mount the motor, because a bigger gear means the motor's got to be sitting in a different position. If you look over on this side, they actually tell you if you're using an 18-tooth gear, you're going to use this hole, and a 20-tooth, it's this hole. And then you've got the same markings up top here, 20 tooth on this side and 18 on this side, just like that. So 18 like this, and then 20 tooth like that. It depends on the pitch of the motor, and that's going to position it different in that hole. Okay, so let's move this here. Now, if you use, let me see if I've got this correct, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want more torque and less speed, you're going to want a smaller gear. No, you're going to want a bigger gear, like the 20 tooth. That will give you more torque but not as much speed. And then a smaller gear will give you more speed but not as much torque. Right? Because I'm using a brushless motor and I'm using a LiPo battery pack, I don't think I need any more torque. So I don't think I need, you know, I'm second guessing myself now. Smaller gear is not as fast. Second gear is not as fast, so which means it's more torque. So I'm going to do that. I think. I think that's the way it is, and I don't know for sure. And this is where comments are really handy. Leave a comment down below and let me know. Is my theory correct? Because I don't remember now. Okay, so we have this, and this is where things I mentioned before, getting a little kit like this is really handy for things like the set screw. And I don't know if I have one small enough for the set screw. Oh, there we go. That's the set. That's the guy right there. And this is also where I like to use the blue Loctite. Okay, this stuff is not the liquid kind, it's just it's kind of a gel paste. So I just put a little bit on the threads like that. And then we put this in here. Because historically, you know, these things go through a lot of vibrations, and these set screws, they can back off and loosen up, and next thing you know, your gear is just spinning. You're hitting the throttle and your car's going vroom, 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 and it's not moving at all. And usually it's because the little set screw has backed off. Okay, here's my motor. This is an easy run with 3665. And it is 2400 kV. If you know anything about motors, then that'll mean something to you. If you don't know anything about motors, then it obviously doesn't mean anything to you. Okay, so in Tamiya's manual here, they want you to put this, set this. We want our gasket on here first, which because of the hole there, it can be, depending on the size of your pinion gear, it can be a bit of a pain to try and get it past your gears. So you put that on first. Find this flat spot on here and put our gear on like this. Okay, now we want a distance of 14 millimeters between the motor and the end of the gear. 14 millimeters. Okay, so I'll grab a ruler here and we'll look at a little measurement. 14 millimeters, which is going to be a challenge, I think, because the shaft is much longer. I think my set screw's a little bit too tight. There we go. The shaft is longer than 14 millimeters. Again, that's not a problem I've really ever had to deal with. I'm at 15 now. It's about 14 and a half. A little too far. Now, if you've actually got like a vernier caliper or whatever to measure, that's great. I'm just eyeballing it with a ruler. Now I got it where I want it. I'm going to crank this set screw down as tight as I can get it. Okay, there we go. We're set. Okay. I wasn't too happy with the fit of my set screw. So that particular fitting I had in there was not an exact fit. Now your kit should come with an Allen key, but I don't know where I put mine. It seems to have disappeared on me. Might be in here. Tamiya usually does include an Allen key right there. Okay. And this should be, in theory, a better fit. Yeah. So, there we go. Okay, that's nice and tight. I'm a little concerned about the length of the shaft on here. So, we will take a look here anyway. We'll do a test fit. So if by some chance the shaft is hitting the chassis on this edge, then I'll have to cut off that edge there. So let's see. And no, I'm not having any problems. That's going right up against there like it should. So even though I thought it might be that, I've got lots of room. Got lots of room in there, no problem. So then you're just going to do this, line that up in there. I did have it lined up. There we go. Just like that. Okay. You got two long screws that are going to go in through this side, and that's going to mount your motor. I don't want to have them. I don't want to actually mount my motor now because I'm going to have these wires flopping around everywhere while I'm trying to assemble the rest. So we'll just leave this aside. I'll actually put the motor back in its box, and we will deal with that later. Okay. But she's got her pinion gear on her. She's ready to go. Okay, so put my ruler back here. Moving on, we have this piece here, F3. So I have to find that piece off of the F sprue, which of course, if you're doing the dump truck, it's going to be yellow, but as you guys already know, I'm doing black. So I'll grab my nippers and take this piece off. There we go. Now, you guys who watch my channel, you know I'm all about cleaning up nubs. Got to clean up the nubs. even though it's an RC car and it's not like some precision model trying to make everything fit perfect, it's not that necessary. But this is where something comes into play that is not mentioned here at all. We have a piece of aluminum that's going to go there. This is part of my hop-up parts. This guy here. I've already opened this bag so I can get everything out. Okay, Tamiya hop-up parts. Yay! So, we have this guy here, and am I working at the right end of the truck? No, I've got to go this end. Right here, this guy's going to go like this. Okay, it's going to go on right here. And then this guy's going to go on like this. Now Tamiya provides slightly longer screws because of this added thickness of this. So thank you Tamiya for that. It's very nice of you. 4 screws. They do give you little instructions on where this piece goes. The instructions are kind of assuming you've already got the whole thing put together, right? And so here you go. You take these out, you put them in there, right? So that's how I know exactly how to put this already, because I just looked at this first when I opened the bag. Okay. So you want to have these thick guys, these bigger, fatter things facing up. So what I'll do is I'll put one screw through a hole here. Get that lined up on there. And put it on here. Like that. And start this screw here. Just a couple of threads in. I'll get them all lined up before I start. Really cranking down on them. There we go. Okay. Now I can do some cranking down. First screw I put in here is a little crooked, so let's fix that. There we go. Okay. Sorry if I do this off camera. I need to put pressure on these to keep from stripping the screws. One, and I want to do the other side to prevent any kind of warpage if I got anything that's not quite lined up. Just like you would if you were installing a cylinder head on an engine of a car. You don't want to just start cranking down on bolts willy-nilly. There's a certain pattern that you tighten each bolt. Call it a torque sequence. And I kind of want to do the same thing. These screws are horrible to fit on my screwdriver. I can't get that one all the way. I have to change my screwdriver bit. What the heck? This is not right. I've got to put so much pressure down on a screw because it wants to strip it. And I get a screw that's really tight. this is why doing this by hand is better, because if you just crank down on it with an electric drill, you can really easily strip the crap out of the screw head. There we go. Okay, so that's that. That's all down in there, super tight. She ain't going nowhere, boys. Yeah. Okay, so that's it, and that's it for this page. Okay, so flip her over. Now we're going to start on some suspension stuff. Okay, and again, this is where my custom aluminum parts come into play. Because I have a whole lot of suspension parts, as I showed you guys last time. I have all of these suspension pieces that are going to be installed instead of all these plastic ones, right? For example, this here is this part here, right? Now they've gone and already partially assembled these for me, so thank you very much. That's really nice. They've given me all the screws and bolts for it, so I don't have to worry about any of it. Okay. So I need to look at the instructions that come with this. I got four or five pages of instructions. 6, 7, 8 pages of instructions. All these little instruction sheets. It shows how it all goes together. So I have to refer to all of these. I haven't really opened this up and really looked at all this stuff yet. So this is kind of, I'm learning as I go here, as I show you guys this stuff. Let's see exactly what is entailed in all of this. 2 little bags of screws, obviously one for each side. Well, no, maybe not, because we've got our little shafts here. See, nice shiny blue aluminum. The kit arms consist of 2 parts, C16 and 17. So if I find that screw here, C16 and 17, these are your main arms here. These go together. You have to line up. See that little spot right in the middle there? So you're going to get that in the light there. That little line right there above my finger. You're going to line that up with the same one on this. Okay? Like that. Okay? See how that's not lined up? That means I've got them turned around. So I've got to do it this way. Like that. And now they're lined up. Okay? This is your arm. This is basically this thing. Okay? Flip that over. That's this. But you notice it's considerably longer. Right? Being longer like that gives you more control. Your wheelbase is a little bit wider this way. Okay? Now I'll put these two together. MA2 screws, that's our plethora of screws that we have here. Do these. There we go. Okay, there's your control arm. There's one built. Okay, this guy would go in like this, and it's going to go in right there. Okay, and that's exactly where this one's going to go. Or I guess this one here, like this. Same thing. Okay, like that. So for now, I'll just throw these in here, put them on there until I figure out this whole thing with these. I'll just put the kit parts on. Put these all aside. Get them out of my way. Get out of my way. Okay. So I gotta grab the other ones. Okay. Again, 16 and 17. Okay. 2 more screws. Bing. Bang. Line these up. Nope. Goes like that. Okay. Now with these in, we have to grab this big wire. Where is this wire? Well, it's in one of your other bags. It's either in the B or the C. I don't think it is. It's in the B bag. It's this wire here. This guy here. This is a rather funny way to do this, but this is what Tamiya has done. You're going to take this and you're going to put it through. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky because you got to do both at the same time. But you get it lined up and then it goes in, and it literally just goes like that. Doink, 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 doink. Simple enough, right? It's pretty simple. Yeah. Now this eventually does get held in by something that goes on the front here so that this doesn't just slide out on its own, right? And why Tamiya has done that instead of actual screws that go through, because they do on the back, you got screws that go through. So I don't know why they've done that. Okay. Anyway, we've got other little things that are going to go through here. So we've got to grab our NB1 and our C3s. Okay. C3s are going to be the upper arms. They're going to go through here and here. And we got to grab, and those are held in by the MB1 screws, which are a little bit stepped. So they're not in my A bag. So I believe they're in the B bag. To me, of course, always they put the, I'm gonna drag this down, they show you exactly which screw it is. So it's just a matter of finding them. And here it is here, I believe. This guy here. Match it up. To me, always, you know, they always show exactly that screw, exactly how it's supposed to look in the size, so you know exactly which one it is. So I need 2 of them, so where's the second one here? There we go. Okay. The other thing you're going to need is a couple of O-rings that are going to go into our little cups. Okay. We're going to need this guy. We're going to need one of these. And we're going to need one of these. And we're going to need a couple of O-rings. These little O-rings. Dink and doink. Okay. Now, O-rings are just going to go into the ends of these cups. So, however you get them in there is really up to you. You can try just doing this. Put it on the end of my screwdriver. Set it there. And then go doink. And that didn't work very well. It kind of got stuck. So, tweezers. And we'll try a small screwdriver. This is just a little flathead. Get that down in there flat, all the way around. There we go. That's pressed in, right to the bottom. Another thing you can do is grab one of the axles, the actual axle shaft, and you can just doink and shove it in there. Those are, I think, are going to be, did I see them in the bee bag? Yeah. So you could just grab one of your axle shafts and just do that, shove it in there. Let's see if that works on this one. Yeah, pretty much. That works. That worked. That's another way to do it. Okay. I don't need the axles now. I'll put these in, and then I think that's where I'm going to call it a day. And I've got a lot of figuring out to do with my aluminum parts here. Okay. Before we put these in, we want to put a bunch of grease on them. But actually, before I put them in, I'm going to put my arms on. Okay? So C3, we need C3, and we need two of them. C3 is right here. And the other C3. There we go. Not happy with the nubs. Okay. These guys, you go right here, through there, and then this guy goes on. Now, it's easy to get this backwards because of the shape. You have to do it in such a way so that then when this is on here, it lines up. Okay? And that might take a little bit of eyeballing, but it should line up. It's a little bit hard for you guys to see because the chassis is all black, but basically it should be like this. Okay, if you have it like this, it doesn't line up there. I don't know if you can see from the angle, it doesn't line up. It doesn't line up there. It has to line up. So like this, it doesn't. And like this, it lines up, right? So that's the direction it needs to go in. So feed that through there like that. Should be nice and loose, but at the same time you don't want a whole lot of play. It should not be so tight that it sits like on its own like that. That's okay, it's sitting up on its own, but it's really still super loose, so that's alright, right? As long as it's really loose and playful, that's what you want. Loose and playful. There we go. Again, it's kind of sitting up on its own, but it also will fall down at any given moment. And as you can see, it lines up perfectly there, and that's what you want. Okay. Now I'll put these in. Okay. So I'm going to put some grease on here. They show grease going even onto this part and onto the shaft. That basically the shaft is going to go in like this inside the car, right? So you don't have to worry too much about it. I'm just using the parts themselves to spread some of this grease around. Okay, so they show you putting this one with the extra shaft on it on this side. I don't think it really matters. Line that hole up and get that shoved in there, and then we'll do the same with this side. And that's it. Yeah, this is the front diff that's really stiff. That's okay. Okay, there you go. And so that's this part here, and that's done. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because the next step is putting on our different parts and stuff like that. Hopefully by the time I'm done with you, hopefully by next time I will have figured out my aluminum parts problem and see what needs to be done to actually put my aluminum arms on and have them work. I'll have to figure that out because it's supposed to be turnbuckles in the kit, and I don't see any turnbuckles in the kit, so I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do about that. I might have to contact them and say, hey, I didn't get these. Maybe. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. As you can tell, it's not that difficult to do. It's just follow the instructions and go step by step, and it's really not that difficult. Anyway, the only difficult part is when you try doing some custom stuff on it and you wind up with these little issues like that, because, well, it's not necessarily meant to have custom parts, right? Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out. And leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. And hit that like button, and over here there's going to be a subscribe button. You can do that too. Down in the description box there's going to be some links down there. You can head over to my Instagram, check out some still pictures of other builds that I've done. Obviously not RCs. This is my first RC on my channel. And yeah, so I guess we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll see you all in the next one.